Township Committee meeting, March 6, 2023, to order. Please stand for the flag salute. Mr. Cheek.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law by posting a notice of this meeting on the bulletin board in the municipal building, by faxing notice of this meeting to the Press of Atlantic City and the Star Ledger on January the 6th, 2023, and by publication in the Press of Atlantic City and the Star Ledger on January 9th, 2023, and January 10th, 2023. Mr. Cheek?
Here.
Mrs. Link?
Here.
Mr. Schenker?
Here.
Dr. Witherspoon?
Here.
Mayor Patali?
Here. Have a moment of silence for private reflection. Okay. Starting off, we have guest presentation. Royal Highness Dispensary, LLC, Adam Siegel. Is that, there he is. Sure.
Hello. Do I just use that? I think so. All right. Good evening. My name is Adam Siegel. I am with Royal Highness Dispensary. And, oh, I think we're good. All right, so just a brief background of our members of our organization and what we're here to do. Our ownership team is Fawn Mallow, CEO, and Reed Sutton, CFO. Fawn's background is he's a trained chemist. He graduated from Villanova, thank you. Fawn graduated from Villanova. He also has an MBA. Reed Sutton's background is in technology as well as business. Both gentlemen have run another successful business dealing in regulated chemicals. And they're very familiar with government regulations and online sales, things of that nature. Makes them a perfect fit for this new venture that we're going into. Again, my name is Adam Siegel. I'll be the Director of Operations. I have 2 business degrees and a law degree. My background comes from regulated industries such as health insurance. I also worked for the FDA for a brief stint. I was there when they raised the smoking age to 21. And then I ended up working for Mr. Sutton and Mr. Malone a few years ago until they decided to go into this new venture, and here we are. Brad Peters will be our store manager. His background, among other things, is in accounting, but he also has a lot of retail experience and retail management experience and regulatory compliance. Debbie Casillo, she will be our quality compliance and inventory management specialist. Her background, she has owned a bar and is very well versed in regulatory products like liquor. And she works with our current company that we're in now, working in inventory management and reporting in that. So she's a perfect person that we thought would manage that very well. Our location, I hate the line through there, is towards the end of Township, almost by Folsom. I've included a map there. The little heart up in the top left-hand corner is where we'll be. The outline, I don't know if you can see it, the red dotted line is the entire township, so that's how far out we are, almost in the next township over. It's 7685 Black Horse Pike. It says Hamilton, but it is Hamilton Township. And then there's a little picture. It's the old Platinum Playground building that hasn't been used in years. We're looking to repurpose that and bring business to the township. So a little bit of background so far to date. We had already applied through the Cannabis Regulatory Commission for licensing. We were in the first group that was approved from the state. Unfortunately, we were informed that our location that we had leased, they were no longer interested in being involved in the cannabis business, so we had to find another location, and luckily Hamilton Township had a location, and we love it here, so that's why we're here. We've applied and already have received a letter of support from the council, but we wanted to come today and give a presentation because it was requested of us by the council. And moving forward, we actually just closed on our property and we own the building as of March 1st. We did sign our MOU, and we have posted escrow to continue moving towards our paperwork that we need to have done through the township. And we are working on that development agreement as we speak. So a couple other things, for some people that don't necessarily know all the regulations and requirements, I just want to go over a couple things so that some people are aware if you had questions. So for security, we will have armed security during our open hours. We will have cameras that are going to be covering the facility for 24 hours a day. And we will have all of our products stored in either a DEA cage or the equivalent. And what that means is it's not just a regular cage, it's a reinforced cage, has certain requirements. Basically, you could drive a car into it and you can't get in. If we don't use a cage, I think the requirement is like a 12-inch thick concrete wall. That's the equivalent of what this is. The 24 hours cameras have to be monitored at all times, and the state has to have access to them. So basically, if anybody tries to do anything or tries to break in or cause any harm or damage, it'll be known, and it'll be a good deterrent because they're going to get busted. Odor mitigation, I know a lot of people are worried about smells coming out of there, but because this is a retail establishment, there will be no open products on site. Everything will come in pre-packaged, so there won't be a whole lot of odor mitigation to be done, but we will be using carbon filters in our HVAC system, and you shouldn't really notice it outside the building, if at all. Again, our owners, the company that we work for, deals with odor mitigation all the time because of the products that we make. We deal with a lot of solvents, things of that nature that smell a lot more than this, so we're pretty well versed in dealing with that. We will have a dual ID checking system where we will have somebody's ID checked in the door to make sure that they are 21, and when they're checking out to make sure that the product is being given to the person that purchased the product, and that, again, that they are 21 years old, in case the person at the door misses that. The technology in the state of New Jersey, they're using a system called Metric, and it tracks the seed to sale. And what that means is from when a seed is planted in the ground to when a customer purchases a product, that specific product will be tracked from that instance all the way until somebody gets it. So what that means is that from when it's planted in the ground till will we give it to somebody, we have to scan it every time. So that means that if it's in a different room in our building, we have to scan it out of one room and put it in another. It's how much they track something like this so it won't get into the wrong hands. We will also have alarms on our building, or we already do actually, 24-hour fire and security alarm. So if anybody tries to break in or there's a fire, we have that monitored and police are called immediately. I set that off because I didn't know how to set the alarm the other day. So let's talk a little bit about the business in general. New dispensaries have a similar positive impact on housing prices to the impact of new grocery stores in an area. This was reported by Forbes a few years ago. They've done a study over several years in states that have legalized it versus states that have not. So they were looking at, they had the states that did, and then they had their control states where they were able to do this research, and it's pretty conclusive. Cannabis legalization is key to helping economic recovery. The Forbes also reported this. Basically, they're comparing it to the repeal of prohibition, dealing with the Great Depression. I wouldn't say that our economy is, in the same state as the Great Depression, but, everybody could use a little bit more money, right? Single-family homes close to dispensaries have risen in value 8% more than those located further away from dispensaries. So that's something for our neighbors to consider. It's a nice bump in what their property value is. And cannabis brings more foot traffic into the area for other local businesses. And I know near there, even though they're not technically in Hamilton Township, there's a diner and there's a couple other gas stations that could use a little bit more foot traffic. There's a lot of stigma dealing with legalization of marijuana that I wanted to just discuss a little bit with the social impact. In the first 6 months of retail cannabis, typically regions see hospitalizations for opioids specifically drop about 7.6% compared to states that haven't enacted legalization. After that 6 months, it does level off a little bit, but it never increases past that initial baseline observed in these states. So what that really means is that if you look at it, cannabis really isn't a gateway drug. Opioids really aren't used anymore whenever cannabis is legalized, and a lot of people like to push that, but when you think about it, the state's regulating this so heavily that you're not seeing the things that are where you have cannabis on the streets where it's being laced with illicit drugs. So it's a lot safer to do it this way. So yeah, I would say that legalization, just to summarize, legalization's really had an impact on local governments and local townships where you see more money coming in. You also see lower hospitalizations for illicit drug use. Us as an organization, we are committed to following the rules and regulations set by the state of New Jersey and Township of Hamilton. That should be obvious, but, I want to say it. Royal Highness, our ownership and management are committing to be a part of the community as well. We're volunteering our time to educate whenever we need to. We would love to come to township meetings even after we're not needed. But really, if you feel that there's a need to educate the township, we would be more than happy to come down and talk to anybody that we need to. It's not even just here, but even in our business. And we also are going to be encouraging our employees when we do start hiring that to volunteer and give back. And one of the things that we've discussed is giving them comp time. So if they do take time away from work, we'll count that as a work day and they can take a different day off. So basically paid time off to volunteer and give back to the community. And that's all I have. Does the
Very good,
council or
thank you.
anybody else have any questions?
Anybody on committee?
Do you have any knowledge of what happened in Philadelphia, Montgomery County with packaged goods that had fentanyl in them?
Not at all, ma'am, no. I'm sorry. You can enlighten me, though, if you think.
I saw it on the TV, and,
Yeah.
and they had stopped the people or the shop that was handling this to cease and desist until they found out what the thing is. But it says New Jersey State does track from seed to,
Yeah. And I know Pennsylvania, they haven't legalized adult use cannabis, it's just medical for now. So I'm not sure of what you're reporting or where it's coming from, whether it was something that was purchased like off the street or what was happening, but I'm not aware of how that would get into their products, at least their medical products.
Yeah,
But yes,
they-
the state of New Jersey does track, like, this, they'll do inspections too. So every plant has to have its own barcode, and that barcode follows it throughout. So if they have, even if they destroy that product, they have to report how they did it and where it was destroyed. Same thing with us. If the product we have has an expiration and it's gone past that, we have to document how we're going to destroy that product.
okay. Yeah, I didn't reach out to Pennsylvania, I saw it on the news. The one fellow was interviewed that sold the cannabis in packages, and he had no explanation for it.
Sure.
So
It is
it's
scary,
good
yeah.
to sort of do a little research on that.
So if something like that would happen with us, the state of New Jersey would put out a recall specifically if they had found it in specific SKUs and in different products. So they would pull back everything, probably from that specific grower and everybody that had touched it along the way to find out where that happened. That's how the state of New Jersey is handling something like that. I'm not aware of that specific instance, but if it did happen in New Jersey, that's how they would handle it, that we've been told, if there's a
I think it
recall.
was Montgomery County. Okay, well, I'll look into it a little more.
Sure.
Okay.
Anybody else? Thank you very much,
No
appreciate it.
problem. I would love to stay longer. I have a pregnant wife at home who needs me, so I appreciate your time. I will see you.
Good luck. Moving on, addition, deletion, late agenda items, we have none. Early public comment, we have anybody?
Yes. Aileen Dix for 7B.
Aileen Dix for 7B.
A crossed off.
7B, I guess is what it was, I wrote 5B, it's the budget. I think you amended the budget once, but some years ago, it was standard practice to hold public budget workshops where the 5 elected people who are up there to represent all of us would discuss the various departments, the department heads would justify their requests, and now, obviously, we don't have out here whatever this budget amendment is, but I think you need to be thinking about amending your revenues. I've had it right up to here now, with the amount of revenue that is a contracted revenue, like my home's tax bill, that's, you're gonna get it. Well, how about all the other revenues that you get, but you don't list them in the revenues and impact the tax rate at the get-go? For example, we have pilots, not listed. We have cell phone tower leases and Comcast, together, cell phone tower and Comcast, over 100 grand. We have Mr. Sandman's municipal service fee that he wrote that ordinance in 2001, never been included as a revenue. It's over $200,000. So when I start adding up these numbers that I've picked off one of my Oprahs, I'm up over $350,000 that you could put into your revenues. It's worth at least $0.0175 on the tax rate as you look at the hole in your budget that you're looking at tax increases. The punchline to where I'm going is, I also saw on the MUA's agenda that that the request has been made by someone for another 5% of the MUA budget. And as the three of you know, as ratepayers, the MUA raises the budget 5%, raises our rates to come up with the 5% to hand you. Art and I talked about this last February, a year ago. I'm asking you to put a motion on the floor on each one of these revenues of whether you're going to include it as an anticipated revenue like my tax bill, like your tax bill, and your tax bill, and your tax bill. And Richie and Art, they're not ratepayers, but you anticipate our taxes, anticipate these revenues that are year over year over year, and stop using them as unanticipated when they're in fact contracted. So I'm asking you tonight to put motions on the floor that you vote whether you're going to ask the MUA for another amount of money. You decide whether you're going to put the municipal service fee, $206,000, into the budget as a revenue, and use these other things to mitigate the gaping hole that I talked about November 14th in front of this committee when I said all of the COVID money for 2 years went to plug budget holes instead of capital items like a fire truck that is overdue. I think I made my point. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else, Brett?
Have Maureen Richvalsky for 5A.
Five B?
5A.
5A,
Five,
E like Edward?
The
5B.
ATV
the
ordinance.
ATV.
Okay. 5B? 5B.
In reference to ordinance 2033, an ordinance of the Township of Hamilton declaring an all-terrain vehicle or dirt bike operated on a public street, highway, or right-of-way in violation of Title 39, 317, as an immediate threat to the public health, safety, or welfare, and designating such vehicles as contraband, subject to forfeiture. My name is Maureen Richvalsky. We have lived on Township Avenue for 35 years. This is a once quiet, two-lane street. It's a mile long with 31 houses on it. There are no sidewalks or traffic lights on Township Avenue, and the only stop signs are at Harbor Avenue and Pine Avenue at either end. There are also two dead-end streets off Township as well, Harrison and Dover. Township Avenue is zoned residential and has a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. Over the course of 35 years, we have seen cars, trucks, school buses on this road daily. The Hamilton Township line is at the intersection of Township and Grand Avenues, where it then turns into Dogwood and Pine. Just on the opposite side of that, there are several schools in Ecover Township, which creates the bulk of the school bus traffic that's there. I'm a retired police officer. I would describe the traffic on Township Avenue as moderate for a suburban street. Not everyone adheres to the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. And as I said, there's no sidewalks on Township Avenue, and so bicyclists, pedestrians, dog walkers have to utilize the roadway or the dirt shoulder. For many of our 35 years, there was an occasional dirt bike or ATV going to the Harbor Avenue pits, is what we called it back then. It's now designated a nature preserve. My children rode bicycles in there and to look for wildlife, when there was far more ground cover and wildlife than there is today. Judging from the video presentation that was shown here a few weeks or months ago, there's more damage than nature in there these days, and it's not surprising, and that's why we appeared. In the past few years, the ATV and dirt bike traffic running up Township Avenue to the Harbor Avenue access points has become incessant. Every week, just every weather permitting weekend, I don't want to exaggerate, but every weather permitting weekend and evening, there are large quads that come screaming up that street, blow the stop sign because they want to get off the roadway, because I believe these individuals know they're not legally on the roadway. And they are neither abiding by the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, nor do they stop at the stop signs. There are multiple ATVs often across the full width of the road. Some go single file, many are across the full width of the roadway. They're riding on the shoulder or on the frontage. They've come across my front lawn and run over neighborhood mailboxes and bushes. The noise far exceeds that of any cars, trucks, and buses that are legally using that roadway. They hit into the nature preserve at all different times of the day and leaving all evening long. As late as midnight, we're listening to 7 or 8 quads ripping down the street, and they come in bulk in numbers. And it's not every one of them, but even when they're going slowly, they still are not street legal. And for years that we've complained about it, we've been told there's really nothing we can do. So the noise has become unbearable. They're racing up and down the street. We're hard-pressed to hear birds and crickets anymore. This was once a quiet neighborhood, and it's become a raceway for individuals who have no regard for the wildlife that's in there, the property, or the safety of others. I wouldn't walk my dogs out on that street in the evening. As a resident and taxpayer, I don't feel like I should be obligated to tolerate this. I'm very tired of being told there's nothing we can do about it, because it's unfair to taxpayers. I said, if people want to ride an all-terrain vehicle, I just feel like a prerequisite is you should have some terrain to ride it on, and not expect township residents and taxpayers to provide you with a place to play. My husband and I had a 36-foot fishing boat. We had to pay for a slip and follow the waterways, and we're subject to take care of the ecosystem. I couldn't drop it in your stock pond or in your swimming pool because I didn't have to pay for a slip. In other words, if you want to have a vehicle like that, you need to have a place, and it's not up to the residents of the township. If this township committee wants to say, we'd like to propose a place for them to ride and allow the taxpayers to vote on that and say, yeah, we'll support that, that's fine. But that's not been the approach. The approach has been, you're not supposed to be in there. They scream in and out of there, and we're told that there's nothing that can be done. So the ordinance that's before you tonight is to put a little meat into that law. That if you get caught, your ATV is going to be impounded and you're not going to get it back. And that might put enough meat, it might put some incentive to stay off the roadway, to stay out of people's front lawns. So what we ask for is to stop the chaos, to ensure and impound the off-road vehicles that are on the roadway, charge the offenders who are breaking the law. So I thank you for your time.
Thank you. And that's why we have this ordinance that will be introduced tonight.
We have Donna Hare, or Hay, I think it's Hare, 5E, same item.
Okay, I live in the same neighborhood as Maureen. We've also lived on Township Avenue for 25 years and have never experienced the harassment from the quads that started during COVID. Multiple times, my mailbox has been taken down for sport at a cost of about $200 to put another one up. I went for weeks without a mailbox because I finally got so tired of replacing it, I just gave up. My mail went to neighbors. I couldn't take it anymore. My front lawn's been used as a place to do donuts. My lawn has ruts and ripped up every Friday and Saturday night that we have good weather. They come down the street about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning from parties and leave a trail of beer cans, beer bottles on our lawns. They run over stop signs, street signs, and anything that they can destroy in what they deem fun. We have teens riding quads and running stop signs, adults picking up kids from the school bus with toddlers on quads in the street with no helmets. I don't want to wait until someone runs a stop sign and some poor motorist hits someone by accident. I personally am just tired of paying for the lack of respect for others. Thank you.
Understood, thank you.
Dan Toth for 5E.
I'm Dan Toth. I also live in the neighborhood. Just a little more information. I happen to live right on that corner, Township and Harbor. Now, I've been there over 20 years. I remember when I moved there, I put in almost $1,000 worth of hedges. It lasted about 2 weeks because somebody decided to drive their quad through them. They've also ran over my stop sign. I've had to put up logs in my corner because I'm the corner that they turn that way, so they like to go right through my yard. And just to give you some perspective of this, today, nice day out. It's a school day, right? 2:30 in the afternoon. I'm sitting on my backyard playing with my dog. What do I listen to? Quads, dirt bikes. Yesterday, Sunday afternoon, nice day. 6-hour period, I had no more or less than at least a dozen of them. This isn't back and there. This is a dozen riders. 10 after 10 last night. Here come 4 of them whipping down. I've seen them all the time, cutting through cars, people out there barefoot, no helmets, doing wheelies down the street. I mean, some point, somebody's gonna get hurt, and it's gonna fall back to either the rider or the township not doing enough to curtail this. So, everything we can do would be good. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
That's it.
That's it. Moving on. Discussion, future of the former MUA admin building. Brett?
We're looking for some direction from the governing body on what you would like to see happen at the MUA building on Kenskull Avenue. I presented you with a few different options on how we can proceed with the building. In addition to that, we can keep it status quo. I have indicated that our monthly bills are around $1,700 without connecting the backup generator to the building. So I just wanted to have an open discussion and get some direction from you on what you would like to do.
Committee?
Well, have you looked into what the arrangements for having a realtor do this, sell this building if we're gonna sell it?
Yes, we looked into that. We could do something similar. The Industrial Commission goes out every year for an RFQ for a realtor. We could look into that and put one out ourselves and have them market this building and other buildings that we may sell. It's an option.
Would that be under a 60-day, if you signed on to that, would it be under 60 days for them to
Were there-
locate?
We could probably make it however many days we wanted.
It
whatever we
says it
agreed
in-
upon.
It says it in this agreement there.
Yeah. It says here 60 to 90 days, but we could do that. We could do,
You could do a year.
A year.
It's up to you. Yeah.
Well, if it takes a year to sell
I
it.
mean, just if you went out and got an RFQ, you wouldn't have to just use it for this building. You could use it for any municipal buildings that we wanted, or properties that we took in foreclosure.
Now, what is the percentage that they would want to sell it?
We would still have to put the building up for public land sale. This is just to market the location for the townships. Right now, we just put it in the press. We run the ad in the press twice over the course of a couple weeks. This is just to enhance the advertisement of the property that we're trying to sell.
Did anyone come and take a look at it?
oh no, we haven't done that yet.
No, we're just talking about options right now.
What about, Habitat for Humanity? What is involved in that?
That's one of the options that I laid out for you. We could talk to Habitat for Humanity. They would pay a fee for the building. They could develop it into residential housing maybe if they changed it back to a residential use, but they'd have to go back and get that done. It's an option. You could do it.
Habitat for Humanity, do they pay taxes?
Yes, I believe that, yes.
I have a question. Has the building been appraised?
We haven't had our appraiser appraise it. The tax assessor looked at it. Yeah, we can go off of a combination of the condition of the building, tax assessment. But no, to answer your question, we haven't had it appraised.
And what was the assessment?
$365,900. That's the assessment.
I don't think we would get that.
No, you wouldn't. No. If you went with an RFQ, we wouldn't be paying commission to the realtors, correct?
I'd have to look at the terms of the RFQ. I'm not sure how that would work.
Because if it goes out for public bid,
Well, that,
we need a realtor.
No, yeah,
well,
we could
that was
just,
one
Exactly.
option.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, the other option that I'm told we could do, I have to double check it, is use GovDeals, which is an online auction site. And you could set the minimum bid.
Well, why would we
Just
do
an
that?
option.
Yeah, but why would we do that? Because
Just
that,
to further just to market instead of just a conventional land sale like we would have here at Town Hall, it would just,
Get it out to more
GovDeals
people.
is an online venue that blast it out to,
it's not an auction, it's just,
I know
It is an
GovDeals is an auction.
that's what I thought. That was my question. Why would we auction it? Because we might not get that much for it.
You could put in a minimum bid. On GovDeals, could you do minimum bid on GovDeals?
and it would be the same,
Believe so.
similar to what we would do here. I
In a
mean,
public auction.
Technically, it's an auction. So that's how we sell surplus equipment.
Is there any other use that it could be used for? For us, our township, now we own it.
We've thought about it, and Public Works doesn't really need it. I mean, we could always take another building, but the cost to maintain the building, it needs a roof, it needs floors, it needs updates inside. We're using the MISPA Annex now as a Public Works substation. We don't really have the need for it. We don't have to use, we wouldn't be able to use the entire building, so it would be a waste. And it's in a residential neighborhood. It wouldn't really work well for us.
Have you thought about a senior citizen center?
Well, we already have the PAL and we have the MISPA Annex, so
Yeah, but they don't have really access to the PAL building anymore. We're looking at the senior days, but people that utilize that came there for lunch every day, and there were things that were offered, art, bingo, a number of things for the seniors.
it's
But-
an option, but if you look at the monthly costs that I broke, underneath the monthly cost, I noted all of the things that the building does, that we know the building needs, and we haven't taken a hard look at it yet, really. We know that the roof's gonna need to be replaced. The bathrooms, if we bring seniors in, they're gonna have to be made ADA compliant. The building itself's gonna need to be made ADA compliant. There's some issues out with the sidewalks in the front that are gonna need to be addressed. Parking's an issue at the MUA building right now. So
Those are all the things to consider.
That's why we wanted to have a discussion, hear what everybody has to say. Art?
Sell it.
That's kind of my feelings. Sell it.
It needs a lot of work. Some of these things you have on your list, you're probably looking at spending more than the value of the building.
What is the actual cost, though?
The actual cost of the things.
All of the things that need to be done.
I can tell you the roof itself, I had a roofer take a look at it. It'd be upwards of $40,000 to put a roof on that building. Just because it might need the sheathing, we're not, just by looking at the condition of the shingles around the gutters and things like that, it could need plywood.
This was,
Put the plywood on the building.
this was before your time. I understand that. You know, but it just would seem to me, because I questioned this. And what you told me was it was a quit claim deed, so because it was a quit claim deed, the MUA wasn't responsible for anything. We bought it as is. It was really a botched deal. That's all I want to say.
Talking to the mic.
It's not your fault. This happened before you, so you're just trying to come up with recommendations on what we can
You
do
need
with
to-
it.
Talking to the mic, Brett and
Brett, you
Bob.
need to talk into the mic.
Thelma, a quitclaim deed means only that I'm conveying to you the rights that I have in the property. If I have an imperfect right, you accept that.
I understand?
But it's a government-to-government deal.
Right.
It's tax exempt. So the possibilities of liens are very, very, very slim.
I understand. Thank you.
Now, if we were to sell it to a private citizen, would we need to do a title search?
They would.
They would be responsible for that.
And then will we be responsible for fixing it if it was to a private person?
It would be
Sold
ours.
as is.
We're gonna sell it as is? Okay.
The question is, if you decide you do want to sell it, do you want to have the building, do you want me to have the tax assessor prepare an appraisal, order an appraisal for the building, to set a minimum price?
Just have that done by
With the tax-
in-house?
Didn't the MUA have an appraisal done back when this deal was happening?
Would the appraiser take into consideration the work that's required to get it up and running and maintain it, or would he go by square foot? Square foot. Oh, okay.
Same as any other deal, it's what a willing buyer wants to pay. I would remind you that when you did
Right.
the value of that lease was $290,000.
Thank you. Gotta talk right into it, right into it.
Can you hear me?
Not at all. You have to talk right in, when you turn your head, we won't hear you.
How about now, Mrs. Anderson?
That's pretty good. I'm getting there, maybe one day.
So what's,
At a minimum, I would suggest that you have Bill Johnson do an informal appraisal. I'd look for some comps.
I think the MUA did an appraisal when this transference happened. That's how they put the deal together. Is anybody, Mary Jo, can I bother you for a moment? Was an appraisal done? Thank you.
It's a good
So,
starting point.
What was
that
it?
appraisal's new enough that for what our purposes are, that would be fine.
What was it appraised at?
I don't,
What was the appraisal?
it was over 300, was it not?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Will the MUA ever be paying us rent for the,
Not for a long time,
for 10 years?
10 years.
10 years. That's a sweet deal. That's sweet. I'm not mad at them. We're not gonna negotiate.
I think you could look a little bit more into Habitats for Humanity, see if they have an interest in this.
I think track down the,
Well, we have a meeting with them next week
Okay.
for something else. We can bring it up, but we still need to set we would still need to set a price, no matter how we proceed it. If we wanted to sell the property, first thing you need to do is decide collectively that you want to sell the property. And then come up with a mechanism to set the minimum price for the building.
I would say at a minimum, we gotta find the appraisal, talk to Bill, see where he comes in at. And then, we have to discuss about, do we wanna sell the building?
Well, you could have the, if you were selling it outright or on a gov deal, give so much time for it to materialize. If it doesn't materialize, put it in the hands of a realtor.
Yeah, because if we go with a real estate, they're not gonna do that for free.
Oh, everybody's getting paid. It's not that much.
But it could be deemed commercial, and that's sometimes 10%.
So how about we table this discussion for now until you get that information? And at the next meeting, we'll, everybody can kind of think about what they want to do. I'm for selling it. I know Art's for selling it.
I'm for selling it.
Rich is for selling it.
Well, going back to the senior citizens, I do think we should have a program there at the PAL building, which we at one time had for the senior citizens. I mean, we have left our seniors out, and we have not accommodated them.
Well, down on the consent agenda,
Yep.
you're actually,
There's something
That's
okay.
come on.
Just
That's
pointing
a
it out.
It's a start.
That
It's
is
a
a
start.
starter, but at one time, people donated all their time and effort, I know John Hale did, for that to be a senior citizen building. And so we've rented it to the PAL group for $1 a year, not, and they have not been responsible for all the upkeep on it. So our seniors do deserve some, a consideration. And as I say, that, the one for senior days, that is a beginning, but it, when you go over to EHT and you see the facilities that are available for seniors, wow. So, okay, that's my comment. So I would sell it depending upon what you find out.
Okay.
I would say table it, talk to Bill, figure out our options, and a motion to table it.
Second.
It's tabled.
Everyone in favor?
Moving on.
Favor.
All those in favor?
All those in favor of tabling it?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it.
Okay,
4A, adoption of ordinance 2027-2023, ordinance reappropriating $79,285.69, proceeds of obligations not needed to provide for various recreation improvements in and by the Township of Hamilton. This is a public hearing.
You have to do a motion before I.
Yeah, do we have a motion?
Motion. So moved.
I'm sorry, what, the motion to do what? Are you closing the public hearing?
No, well, we have to have a motion to have
You don't
discussion,
need
don't
to
we?
open, you have to have a
Okay,
public
I'm
hearing.
sorry.
You don't need a motion to have a public hearing, you
Only
need a
to
motion to
close
close it.
it, yeah.
I have a question, though.
Why not?
Yeah, I have a question, because at the last meeting, we indicated that this money that was being reappropriated for recreation was going to Leapy and Underhill. In this ordinance, it has various recreation improvements, which means that makes it more general, so I wanted to know exactly where this money, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done on Leapy Field.
I think this is just about $80,000 that was left over in various places that is being put towards recreation in general. It doesn't really need to be designated to any one thing.
You have the discretion.
Yeah, that's how I take it, as
Yeah.
it's going through the Recreation General Fund.
But at the last meeting, I asked the question, when this was being done, where would it be going to? So if it's going to go to various recreation places, I just wanted to know what were the other places, especially when Leafy Field doesn't have running water and bathrooms.
Well, that's a big thing.
$1,000 ain't covering that.
Well, we do have, well, I'm not going there right now, but we do have something in place that, and I don't know why we're not working on it yet. But that's not dealing with this, so.
Well, I think it's, we kind of have an idea where this money's going between Leapy and Underhill and the work that needs to be done at both of them.
Okay, that's fine. It's just that if the wording was changed. It just said various, and I just wanted to know where the other improvements were, the other recreation sites would be.
Is there any available for the soccer fields? Is it all Leapy and Underhill?
Well, like Art said, this goes into the recreation fund.
This gives us the ability to use the funds in any recreation site in the township. We could use them at Hickory Street, we could use them at Knight Avenue ball fields, we can use them at Underhill, we can use them at Leafy Track,
Rita,
any of the playgrounds that we have in the town.
So what is our list?
did this ordinance change between when we introduced it and now, Rita?
The ordinance didn't change, but the question was held up at the last meeting, where was this money being reappropriated to? And I was told Leapy and Underhill. So I was just wondering why it wasn't stated in this here.
When you write an ordinance, you try to write it as general as possible, very similar to when you put another expense line item in your budget. Then you drill down on it internally to where you want to spend those proceeds. And internally, we may want to use that money towards Leapy, since that's the need. But you don't want to write your ordinance to be so specific. It leaves it open so that if, say, something happened at Underhill that you needed to get done immediately, then you would have that appropriation available to you. If you specify it to make it too specific, then you aren't able to use it for those funds. So when we write the ordinance, we write it for recreation improvements, and then internally we can allocate funds anywhere, allocate expenses anywhere we need to.
I understood that. I just
So-
wanted to know where.
So it's not going into surplus, right?
No,
No.
no.
Okay, it's specific,
being
even if the
reappropriated
code need a
In recreation,
for recreation.
yes.
All right.
Yeah, and if we specifically said Leapy, and then there was a issue at Underhill Park, we would have to come in and make changes to it to make it available for Underhill Park. Now, obviously, when we discussed it, the work that we plan on doing is at Leapy and Underhill.
All right.
Any other questions or comments from committee?
Here, open to the public.
Motion to close
Open.
public?
No, we're gonna open it, well, it's open to public.
Oh, I thought it was, I'm sorry.
Rec. Maybe that means rect budget, or does it mean recreation? Earlier this year, and this is only the second month of the year, the beginning of the third month, there was a thing about green acres. Did you push that up to $2 million of potential green acres money that you could borrow for recreation? That was done this year, $2 million?
2 million, Brett, is that what it was, or was it a million?
Is
It's
it
I know it's in your
$1.6
report.
$1.6 million plus something that came up?
We
to-
have the ability, if we get the additional funding, we'll have the ability to get low-interest
Loans.
loans on up to $2 million.
Okay, so up to 2 million for recreation. I think if you look at your 2021 ordinance, the bond ordinance where you borrowed money, I'm thinking, because I wasn't prepared for this, that I checked my records or your records, $775,000 was borrowed in 2021 for the bathrooms and the concession stand at Leapy. So now that's 775 plus 2 million, that's almost 3 million. And now you want to take this 79,000, which I think 72,000 of this 79 was left over from Third Street.
Yes.
So is there no end to the dedication of our tax dollars and borrowed money just to recreation? Or what about anybody else, whether it's senior citizens that you just mentioned, or the fire truck that I just that I mentioned in my prior comment? Where is there a line that we're going to draw? And let's be fair to everybody here, because the people that are using these rec fields, as he very well knows, many of them don't live in this town and don't pay 1 red cent for coming and using our soccer, our lacrosse.
Actually, they do now.
They do now, but
$25, less than they pay to go swim at the cove. Isn't that amazing?
Well, you
Think
just
about-
said they don't
think
pay 1
about-
cent, and I told you that they do. They do. I mean, we can't charge them much more than that.
we charge
that's-
them
We could, you're right, we could. We could charge them $50. We could charge them $100.
And you can tell their towns to give us insurance coverage in case their kid or their adult gets hurt on our property and it's on our insurance. So we could go on a whole tangent. That wasn't my purpose. My purpose is borrowed money, which
We haven't borrowed any of it.
this money is borrowed
Well,
already.
this money is borrowed, so
Correct.
we are reappropriating it.
I
Because when we
understand
put
that.
out to bid to do that work at Leapy, it came back higher than what we had. So we're trying to get it done.
But not to scale it back so it fits the dollars that we're
We're
paying.
we haven't put it right out to bid again, because we're trying to decide, do we want to go back out with all the same stuff again, or do we just want to do the concession stand? We got to wait and see what our budget comes in, how that comes in, where that's at. So we're not doing anything yet until we see what the budget looks like. So all the guys out there, all guys and girls, sorry, everybody, MLAA, HYAA, they just had their big tournament out there, another tournament where they're using porta potties again, big tournament out there. We've been trying to get this concession stand, which includes the bathrooms, done for how many years? 3 years that I've been up here, we've been trying to do it. So we're trying to figure out how to do it. We're trying to figure out what our budget's going to be this year. We're trying to fit all this
Let's have
stuff
a
in.
budget meeting. I already said that. I would like to say one more thing on this 79,000. It's my experience in reading your audits and your financial statements that when you repurpose borrowed money, it's staying in the capital fund as borrowed money. It's not going like into the rec trust when it was mentioned rec fund, not to be confused with rec trust or that other rec fund that the developers put money into. This is still staying in the capital account as borrowed money. You're in agreement?
Is that true?
That's true.
Say it louder so we can
No.
all.
79.
The 79,000 stays in the capital improvement fund.
The capital fund of the borrowed money, so it stays in the capital borrowed money section of the finances.
Yes, it's reappropriating, canceling one ordinance,
Understood.
reappropriating it to a different use.
I want everybody else to understand, because I knew that. That's why I could ask the question, even though it's on the fly. All right.
I think it's important too, before you sit down, Aileen, that the budgeted amount for the project at Leapy was $5 million. So anytime Green Acres contacts us and says, hey, there's a grant opportunity, there's low-interest money out there that we can get, we should jump on it. Like, the next time it comes around, doesn't mean we have to spend it. It just gives us the opportunity to get 2% interest on our money, on the loan. That's all that is. That doesn't mean that we're gonna go out and build $2 million worth of rec fields this year or next year. It just gives us the ability, if we do, this year, we wanted to rebid the project at Leapy. It gives us the ability to get 2% on that, and if we add to that, we can get 2% on the addition, up to $2 million. We don't have to go out to bid or build any of it this year.
I'd just like to see some other ways to be funding some of this recreation stuff, because the planning board had a thing where a developer was putting money into the rec fund, and in one fell swoop, when I was on committee a few years ago, $330,000 was spent for putting lights on a football field, and how many times a year are they used? But $330,000 is a lot of money to spend on one item. Thank you.
Anybody else from the public wish to speak? You have to come up to the mic, please. And please state your name.
Yes, Till Golden on Adams Avenue. I don't know quite, I'm not sure about everything that's going on here, because I have a very difficult time hearing you back there. Because when things are talked about, they're directing it to the panel. To me, that's what I'm hearing. But the issue that I get out of it is, it's still borrowed money. Like Aileen said, it's still borrowed money. And if you get a good deal,
Look at it like a low-interest line of credit. We haven't borrowed the money. We have the ability to borrow. We have the ability to charge against it, but it's at low interest.
Can I offer some clarity? When
but
the
it's still borrowed money, whether it's low interest or not.
We didn't borrow.
we haven't borrowed anything.
They said it was borrowed.
No.
Did she not say it was
There's-
borrowed?
This-
79,000 was borrowed?
Yes.
Okay.
That was.
And it's allotted, it hasn't been used yet, but it's still borrowed money.
This was money that was borrowed for a road program, for paving 3rd Street, and then there was another small cancellation that we had. We're just reappropriating that money to recreation.
Okay.
That's
We're
79,000.
changing its purpose.
Right.
That's all we're doing.
I understand you're redirecting the money somewhere else, but it's still borrowed money.
The
Any way you look at
$79,000
it,
is.
it's still borrowed money.
It is, but it's just, right now, it's just sitting there, and we have the need in recreation.
If I have access, I'm not going to borrow more money.
Can I bring some clarity to the difference between borrowing and authorizing? When the 775 for the recreation in the 2021 bond ordinance, the bond ordinance creates the appropriation in order for us to have a spending line item for us to award contracts to. When we borrow money, that's a different tool. That's using the cash that we need to borrow to pay for the contractors. So the $2 million Green Acres loan is a loan at 2% interest, which at the current rate right now, if we were to borrow that money, we would be paying 4% interest. We don't need to borrow any money because we don't need the cash, but it's available to us as a credit line should we need it. The authorization of a bond ordinance just creates the appropriation so that we can award a contract. I can certify the funds against to. It's giving permission to borrow money if we need to do it. So that there are two different transactions. One is an authorization of debt and creating appropriation, and the other one is a borrowing or needing the cash in order to pay for it. So don't confuse the two or put the two together. It's not 775 plus 2 million. 2 million is the credit line. It's the availability to get that cash. The 775 is the amount that was authorized to create the appropriation line item. Okay?
So I think what she's saying is this $79,000 is money that we borrowed.
It's already borrowed, we're reappropriating it, it's transferring it from one line item to another line
I
item.
understand that.
Okay. I'm trying to clear
So I
any
think what-
questions that the governing
What
body
she's saying
might.
is, why
but
don't
I'm
we just take
addressing-
that 79,000 and pay it back to the bank?
Yes.
But,
Not
we could-
necessarily pay it back to the bank, but
We could do that.
you could.
We could do that.
Have you ever done that?
Yes?
Really? Well, that's good to hear.
Yes?
Okay, thank you.
anybody else from the public wish to speak? Hear a motion to close?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. So back to our discussion here on the ordinance. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
No, I don't have any further discussion, but I'm just looking at monies that, I just want to see something done. You know, we can reappropriate all the time, and we have money set aside to do certain things, but there's nothing being done. That's my only concern. But I'm going to vote for it. But, I mean, it looks good that we're reappropriating it, but when are we going to do something at those fields? That's all I want to know. When?
Well,
Yep. Yep, can I have a roll call vote?
Mr. Cheek,
Yes.
Mrs. Link,
yes.
Mr. Shanker,
Yes.
Dr. Witherspoon,
Yes.
Mayor Patali.
Yes.
All yes and adopted.
4B. Public hearing adoption ordinance 2028-2023, an ordinance amending stormwater management, land use and development of the code of the Township of Hamilton. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Good evening, Mayor, Committee, women, and men. This ordinance was introduced at the last Township Committee meeting. It's amending our stormwater management regulations for the Pinelands area only. It was also presented to the Planning Board last Thursday. The Planning Board had two recommendations, very minor in nature, to be added to it. And the one was more of a belt and suspenders sentence to be added in section 203-261C3. And the sentence would read, all areas outside the Pinelands area shall conform to stormwater management requirements in section 203-72, which is already existing in our land use ordinance. The next section that they requested and also wanted to add was in the penalty section, 203-271. They wanted to reference the existing code 203-218 entitled Violation and Penalties. And that was their only recommendations and comments.
Very good.
Okay, now considering these recommendations, do we have to kick that back up to the Pinelands?
It will be going back to the Pinelands after it's been adopted, and they'll be reviewing it, and then if they have any concerns, which it's basically what they wrote to us as a model, and we followed it.
So we don't have to amend the amendment. This is an amendment, the new
This
thing.
is it, and then we send it up to Pinelands, they will finalize it, finally approve it, and it'll be part of our ordinance.
Okay, so as stated, we can pass that tonight, or
That's correct.
approve it tonight with these,
With these two
the
minor.
slight changes.
Yep.
If you determine that those two changes are material, substantively material, you have to reintroduce. If you find that they are substantively immaterial, which it sounds to me that they are, you can go forward tonight.
Who decides if they're substantively?
Between Bob and I think.
Yeah, I really feel that the extra sentence they wanted
isn't really required or needed, since we already have an ordinance for non-Pineland areas. They just felt that it was more of a understanding in case somebody came in and wasn't sure. So it's very immaterial. It doesn't change the, any design requirements of stormwater management at all, and nor does the penalty, because the penalty was actually already existing in our ordinance previously. We're just reinstating it back into this section.
Oh, it was missing in the section?
It was on my draft that I mistakenly did not add it in. Section 203-218 was previously stated in the ordinance earlier. I just forgot to add that in. So in my opinion, it's immaterial, and you can vote on this and approve it and send it to Pinelands.
Okay.
This is a public hearing. Anybody from the public wish to speak? Seeing no one coming forward, can I hear a motion to close public?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Ayes have it.
One comment. This is a ordinance that controls our storm water. Planning board, they are to know what's in this. When a project comes before them, they deal with that situation. So, it's very important that our planning board be well-schooled on all the things that are listed on the stormwater management, which is no easy task, so,
I think that they would rely on the professionals to bring it to their attention.
yeah, that
Got
too.
very capable professional staff.
Judy, if I could say, as a member of the planning board, there was quite a bit of discussion, and it was very, very good discussion. Everyone's on top of it,
Okay,
and our
that's-
residents are, and it was a very good discussion, and everyone's on top of that.
yeah, my point is, that's why we need the planning board
Yeah,
to
yeah.
go to for developments, things that are brought before the planning board by developers. So important to have the planning board or professionals weigh in on all the problems that could occur.
And this was discussed at the planning board meeting also. This creates work for the township. This creates, down the road, depending on how much work there is, on how much development there is, there's a lot of things that have to be done. And of course, the state, the Pinelands, they mandate these things, but then they don't help you. They don't fund things to help you pay for this. And to require, it's going to be probably, the zoning office is probably going to be the ones that are going to be responsible for going out. Maybe not going out, but going over required documents that are supposed to be sent in for stormwater management of developments, all the way down to a single-family home, we found out. So, just, I want people to understand that these things are good, this is good, these are good things, this will probably slow down development a little bit. That's probably Pineland's plan, is to try to slow things down a little bit. But it's also a burden, and it's gonna cost us money. So, that's, it's a little tit for tat,
If
what goes on with that.
If I may add to that comment, I'm going back to the Park Road, when they put sidewalks at the lower end of Park Road, and it created a water problem that was not solved for at least 10 years, and every time they went and put another catch basin in, another catch basin, it still was not solved. Every time it rained, right at Tunney and Park, it was a foot high. Okay, so that's my thing that it is so important that our engineers consider every avenue of storm water, because I've seen it in my lifetime where somehow, because we had to put those sidewalks in, it destroyed the whole flow to the creek, and we were left with a stormwater problem. So that's my thing. I know it's a difficult pill to swallow for a lot of developers, but they have to, and even if someone is doing a project in their house, adding on to their house, they have to be aware that if they just, I'll just plow this sand over here, and here's going to be my, new addition, and by plowing that over there, then it creates a water problem to the neighbor. And whenever you do anything in your additions or whatever, you have to consider where is the water going to go. So I understand it's hard, but we've had that for a while anyway, that stormwater management. So
This is all addressed with private family, single-family dwellings. It's all addressed
Yeah.
in that.
yeah,
In Pinelands. Do I hear a motion?
Move for
just
the
in the
adoption.
just in the pine
Oh.
lands.
Excuse me, Mr.
Ah.
Stanley, you didn't vote on the amendment. Do we not need a motion? A
So-
resolution to amend this ordinance before they adopt it? It hasn't been amended.
Well, I thought we would motion with those changes. Is that allowed?
The minor changes, it didn't matter.
I know they're nominal, I don't have to re-advertise, we don't need another public hearing, but if that's okay, I'm on the motion.
We want to be safe. Take a vote on the amendment, the slight two amendments, and move to adopt.
Okay, do I hear a motion to accept the two amendments?
So moved.
At the planning board.
Two amendments that the planning board motioned and approved.
So moved.
Second.
Motion a second. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Now, do I hear a motion?
Motion to adopt Stormwater Management Ordinance 2028-23.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Moving on. Introduction of ordinances. Public hearing will be held March 20th. 5A, introduction of ordinance. Ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank in accordance with NJSA 4-4514. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion, questions? No question, no discussion, no questions?
I'll just ask one. The increase from 2.5%, which is the adjustment, to the 3.5, I was trying to really understand that. Right, why?
On appropriations inside the cap.
Yeah.
Or, I'm just, I don't know, Cindy's gonna come up and explain it better than me, but there's add-ons which include the value of new construction times last year's tax rate and amounts unused from 22 and 21.
First, this is a standard operating practice of the budget process. Every year, a COLA adjustment is set. It's usually November, December of the prior year. This year, last year, that cost of living adjustment was 2.5%. The law allows you to increase it to another 1%, up to 3.5% by passing of a COLA ordinance, which is what is brought to you tonight. The calculation allows you to raise your appropriations. This is just the spending side, has nothing to do with the revenue side, up to 2.5% or up to 3.5% with the passing of this ordinance over last year's appropriations, with some exceptions. Some of those exceptions are LoSAP, your capital improvement fund, your debt service payments, your reserve for uncollected taxes, any of your grants. Those are excluded. And this just brings it up to maximum amount of what you're allowed in the event that you need to use those appropriations. An example of where you might be in a spending cap problem is because our health benefits have increased 20%. Our insurances have gone up significantly. And if we didn't have this cap, we wouldn't be able to increase those on our statutory needs of making those payments. So that's what this ordinance does.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. 5B, introduction of ordinance 2030-2023, an ordinance authorizing the sale of lots 1 through 7 and 9 through 19 in Block 98, as shown on the tax map, Township of Hamilton, and granting to the owner or owners of said real property contiguous to same the right to prior refusal to purchase such land in the Township of Hamilton, County of Atlantic, State of New Jersey. So this is just a land sale.
Yes.
We have a motion.
So move.
Second?
Motion and a second. Questions or discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. 5C, introduction ordinance 2031-2023, an ordinance authorizing the sale of lots 12 through 17 in Block 89 as shown on the tax map, Township of Hamilton, granting to the owner or owners of said real property contiguous to same the right to prior refusal to purchase such land in the Township of Hamilton, County of Atlantic, State of New Jersey. Do you have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Introduction ordinance 2032-2023, ordinance authorizing the sale of lots 42 through 44, block 321, shown on the tax map, Township of Hamilton, granting to the owner or owners of said real property contiguous to same the right to prior refusal to purchase such land in the Township of Hamilton, County of Atlantic, State of New Jersey.
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Question, discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Introduction ordinance 2033-2023, an ordinance Township of Hamilton declaring an all-terrain vehicle or dirt bike operated on a public street, highway, or right-of-way in violation of NJSA 39:3C17, an immediate threat to the public health, safety, or welfare, and designating such vehicles as contraband subject to forfeiture.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion, questions? Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. 5 F, ordinance 2034-2023, bond ordinance appropriating $500,000 and authorizing the issuance of $475,000 in bonds or notes of the Township of Hamilton for reconstruction of the township's fuel station.
So moved.
I have a motion. I'll second it.
Why do,
Question.
yeah, why do we need to have a $500,000 authorization, the issuance? I don't understand why that problem would require that kind of money.
Brett, you want to give some background?
So this is for the fuel contamination at Public Works. This is just to establish an appropriation to charge against. We don't know if this project's going to cost $20,000 or $500,000. But it's covered under our tank policy, and the way the tank policy works is we have to pay, and then we get reimbursed. So we have to have a line we have to have a line to charge against.
Do we get full reimbursement if it costs $500,000?
Or
Is our policy for that tank?
Yes.
Okay,
I have a question.
go ahead.
My question is, and I understand that the county is using this fuel station as well. And why is the township responsible for all of the expenditures? And I did ask you that question earlier, and I asked for a copy of the agreement. You did submit that to me, and it is outdated. Why are we going to use that with an outdated? The county certainly has more money than we have. So why are we taking on all of the expenditures, and they're using this station just as much as, or more than we are?
It's still we're still responsible for the tanks, and they're still responsible for the pumps. The agreement was drafted in '98. It hasn't been adjusted since '98, as far as I can see. So, believe me, I wish the county, I called the county, and they're not willing to help us because this is the agreement. Like, when the pumps break, the township doesn't have to help fix the pumps.
But the point is, I understand that, but how can we be operating on an agreement from 1998?
That's a good question.
That's
So
my question.
I asked Brett, so why don't we charge the county 5 cents more than what we pay for fuel, so we get some money, but we buy the fuel through the county, because the county gets it cheaper than we could.
County negotiated a better price.
Well, the county's buying fuel for the whole county, so
Right.
they get
a better price.
Just like road salt.
So I would say this agreement, I guess we need to look at it and see if we can update it so that maybe they have a little bit more skin in the game.
Absolutely.
Are we gonna pull this?
Yeah, well, what would make them want to do that? To update
because
1998?
All their buildings are in our township pretty much, and if they don't want to do something to work something out, they're gonna have to go somewhere else to get their fuel.
Absolutely. I mean, their budget was, close to 200 million or more, and ours is close to 26, 27? And they're gonna make our township responsible totally for this? Oh, no.
The insurance company's paying for it, so at least we have that. My question is, when we pull these tanks and you check dirt and everything underneath, if we decide we want new tanks, how old are the tanks? 40 years old?
They're about 29 years old, and hopefully we don't have to pull the tanks, because that would mean that contamination's underneath the tanks.
Yeah.
But if we do pull the tanks, that's going to be another conversation we're going to have, because do we want to put 29-year-old tanks back in the
That's it.
ground?
Would the insurance company reimburse us for new tanks? Because naturally, they're insuring it. Do they want 29-year-old tanks going back?
Right, and that's a question that we're gonna have to ask
when we get there.
know that we have
Yeah.
to pull the tanks out.
Any other questions or comments?
So what are we doing?
Well, this is just to approve, this isn't, public comment, this is just the introduction of the ordinance. So this is just to approve the money to get us through this. Excuse me?
Intended to get the work started.
Yes.
Right now, there are tanks. If we amend the agreement, there still are tanks.
Right.
Yeah.
We're not gonna be able to amend the agreement and give the county half of the leaking tanks.
Well, not at this point, but
No,
if we
but
can,
we should amend the
moving forward.
agreement. But we need to move forward and figure out we need to figure out how far this contamination went, and we need to be able to start cleaning it up. And we don't have the ability to start cleaning it up unless we introduce this ordinance tonight.
so it's a necessity to
Yeah,
keep the
start
project
the,
moving,
yeah, because otherwise we have the police going to Hamilton or Northfield for their
In
gas.
Galloway now, right?
For
We're gonna deal with Galloway.
And you also have the
Not yet.
contamination spreading every day, so something you want to address.
Mhm.
It's not that I don't want to address it. It's just that I don't feel that the township should be totally responsible. So you're saying that the insurance that we have for the tanks is going to cover the entire amount, and we're going to get reimbursed for it? That's what you're saying?
It depends if we have to pull the tanks. We're not sure yet. We haven't gotten that far. We submitted a claim at this point, and they've accepted the claim.
For how much?
We just told them that the tanks are leaking, and we have an environmental situation.
So even if
They accepted the claim, and, we're taking it step by step here, and that's where we're at with it.
So
Part of this is gonna be later on down the road, it's gonna be to amend that agreement with the county.
later on down the line, since 1990, this is way before you, so I'm not blaming you. Okay, I'm glad that you found it when I asked for it, and you gave it to me.
I'm not glad that it happened.
But I'm glad that we found
here.
out. I just feel uncomfortable because it gets swept under the rug, so who's going to make sure that the agreement is being updated?
I'll make sure the agreement gets updated.
Mr. Mayor,
So,
can I make a motion that we introduce ordinance 2034-2023?
already done.
Can we move this, please? Yes.
So,
Call the question, Carl.
so,
Yes.
roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
No.
Yes. Six A, award bid 2023-01 turf maintenance to True Green LP Thoroughfare, New Jersey, in the amount of $21,436.51, plus $100 per hour, and material markup of 41.9% for additional as-needed extra work. Have a motion?
Motion.
Your second? I'll second it.
the question that we have is about the material markup for 41.9%. Is that the going rate for,
This was a public bid, correct?
Yeah, it was a sealed bid.
A sealed bid, so this is how it came in.
Right, we bid the extra work. That doesn't mean that we have to use them for the extra work. In fact, we won't use them for the extra work. We bid it that way last year too, and we didn't use them last year for the extra work. It's high, it's excessive, but it is you know, we're using the base bid here.
So basically, you're not going to take them past that base bid, incur that kind of expense.
No, we're not.
But they have the ability to do that, because it wasn't taken out. It still, it can happen at 41%. Am I correct?
If we approve it internally, but we won't, because I have the ability to not approve it. So we won't approve it internally. If somebody generates a purchase requisition to go above the $21,000, I'll deny it.
Same thing last year, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
How much did it go above their,
It didn't go above last year.
oh, okay. All right.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
No.
Yes. 6B, accepting renewal proposal for the dental insurance. Hear a motion?
So move.
Got a motion, here a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Questions or discussion?
Question? The agreement says that Gallagher Benefit Services has submitted a renewal contract for Delta Dental. So, I know it's for Delta Dental, but shouldn't the vendor be Gallagher Benefits?
I think he's
Services.
the agent, isn't he? Or, I don't know. I read.
Gallagher's our broker. We pay directly to Delta Dental.
So then why is Gallagher in there? Why say that again? It's in the synopsis on the first page that Gallagher Benefit Services has submitted a renewal proposal.
That looks to me like a pay-to-play clause. What Gallagher's saying is that they're certifying that Delta Dental of New Jersey did not make political contributions.
Delta Dental of New Jersey, administered by Gallagher Benefit Services.
Right.
Gallagher is our broker. They negotiate contracts on our behalf.
Right.
We're contracting with Delta Dental. Therefore, the contract is with Delta Dental, not Gallagher. We don't pay Gallagher for anything.
I was only reading what was in the contract. And it says on number 3, whereas Gallagher Benefit Services has submitted a renewable contract.
Yeah, they
For.
submit the rates. Gallagher Benefits negotiates with Delta Dental
I
on our
understand that.
behalf.
Understand it. But their contract had expired. March.
That's why we're requesting a renewal.
Yeah, Gallagher Benefit Services has submitted a renewal contract for Delta Dental of New Jersey.
Yeah, I understand exactly what it says.
So, are you okay with the explanation
No, I'm not, but y'all go ahead and call the vote.
We have a motion, a second. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 No.
Yes.
No.
All right, consent agenda. Anybody want to make a motion, removing anything?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, that, what is that one for the high school?
Make a motion, remove A through H.
Second.
I have a motion, a second for A through H. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Ayes have it. Personnel. 8A, appoint Christina Lazitsky as qualified purchasing agent effective March 6, 2023, with additional compensation of $2,000 added to her base pay.
So move.
Have a motion?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. 8B, appoint Brett Knoll as Township Administrator effective March 6, 2023, at $130,000, with a salary increase to $142,500 effective October 1st, 2023. Have a motion?
So moved?
Have a motion and a second. Questions, comments? Roll call vote, please.
You second it?
Yes.
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 Congratulations.
Thank you.
No, I said yes.
Approvals. Minutes, special meeting minutes of February 15th, 2023.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. Do we need a roll call vote on that one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Ayes have it. Regular meeting minutes of February 21st, 2023.
Motion?
Have a
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Against? Ayes have it. Executive session meeting minutes of February 21st, 2023.
So moved?
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Bill list total $4,295,732.78.
So moved?
Have a motion?
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Reports, Administrator. Officially.
Officially. So it's been an interesting 18-year journey for me, through the ranks of Public Works and into management, and seen a lot of changes through the years. I've worked with a lot of top-notch people, Mr. Sandman, all the professionals through the years. I'm going to try to keep this short. So first and foremost, I want to thank Mayor Vitale and Township Committee for the nod on this and having the confidence in me to step into this role. Public Works Department for their continued support and allowing me to not only lead, but think outside the box for the last 10 years as their director. And their patience especially dealing with me during snowstorms and derechos and floods and, you know, all the craziness that goes along with those. All my mentors along the way that I've, you know, all the friends that I've made, people like Ed Sastelli, our former mayors, Nelson Gaskell was mayor when I got promoted into management. You know, I was 26 years old, and they saw something in me that, you know, it set me apart from the rest. Ex-chief of police, Jay McKean, he gave me the courage to move on into the management role, and told me to never turn down greater responsibility, because you know, it was a big change, huge responsibility. Continued support from Chief Sambrone, Bill Montag, who was our ex-Public Works Director, all the former Public Works employees, former employees that we've had, current employees, everyone that's helped me along the way, I just want to thank, and you should share in tonight for me, and I really appreciate everything that everyone here has done for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything to report? You good?
Nothing to add to my normal 3-page written report.
Mr. Solicitor?
I just want to, I put 2 letters on today's, dated March 3rd, in front of all of you. This was voted on by the Industrial Commission at their last meeting to set aside the contracts for several deals in the business park. They had a year to close, they didn't. They had 60 days to make applications, they didn't. So they're voiding the contract, and they're being actively marketed now. And there seems to be some interest, the largest piece.
When they did that, did they put a down payment down?
Yes,
Did they lose that down payment?
read the last sentence of each letter.
Yeah, I didn't, I'll be honest with you, it was on here when I got here, I did not read it.
One's 100,000 and one's 50,000.
Okay.
I've directed the title company to send me the check.
Well, send it to the township, right, not to you?
No, Bob Sandman.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else, Bob?
No.
And Mr. Engineer?
I don't have anything else to report. Stormwater management was the only thing I had to discuss. Everything from 2 weeks ago is still ongoing. So I hope to have more information at the next meeting in regards to the status of new projects that have.
Township Committee, let's start the other end. Let's start with Mr. Schenker.
Oh, thank you. I just want to say congratulations to Brett. When I got on board here, Brett was already in gear, jumped in there, and has done a great job, almost to a fault. He wants to get everything done in 1 week, which is great, but it's a lot of work. But we've been picking away at it, and he's been doing a good job, and I truly believe he'll continue to do a good job. So congratulations. That's all I have, Mayor.
Very good. Mr. Cheek?
I agree with Mr. Shanker, and congratulations, Brett, and it's a pleasure dealing with you. That's all I have.
Dr. Witherspoon?
Yes, congratulations. I enjoy working with you. It's also National Women's Month, so I would be remiss not to again congratulate Christina Listinsky. Yeah, her.
Yeah,
Yeah, I wanted to congratulate her. It's National Women's Month to all of the women out there. Also, I want to report that I took the seminar, 2022-23 Elected Official Risk Management Seminar, and I did get a certificate, so I was really excited about that. And then on Saturday, I will be going up to West Windsor for a budget seminar. That's my report.
Very good, thank you. Mrs. Link?
I wanted Brett to be administrator way before he became administrator tonight. I want you to know that I was in his favor all along, because anyone who knows our township like Brett does, every little inch, every little raindrop that comes down the pike, and how he managed to keep the dam operating at a acceptable level for most of the people on the lake fronts, was great, because he just knew all the resources that were coming down the lake. And I went for a ride with him one time, and I said, I really didn't know the knowledge that Brett Knoll had of our township. And he is just the ideal person to fight for our township and make it a wonderful place to be. So, thank you, Brett.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to mention, I saw the advertisement for the Philadelphia Flower Show. If you have a chance to go, it is, according to the TV responses, it is amazing. And we always want to see our township, beautify our township by flowers and shrubs and things like that. So it is an inspiration. And that's it.
Very good, thank you. Congratulations, Brett. Pretty much what everybody else says. You know the township inside and out. You keep water in the lake. You're on top of everything that went on at Public Works. I don't think there was ever a time where I would call you and ask you a question you couldn't have an answer about Public Works. Lickety-split. So, really excited for you getting this opportunity, and I'm sure you're going to excel. And what I've seen so far, I know the employees here in Town Hall are very happy, and that's good. And continue with your great leadership, and I think we'll see some good things. On Friday, I participated in Read Across America at Shaner School. Last time I was there was probably 6th grade. I was in the classroom with, maybe Sue can help me, with the teacher. There was a guy, he was a surfer. Mr. Gallagher, that's it. I was in Mr. Gallagher's class, I believe. And I read to pre-K students, and that was quite a fun event for me. That was pretty neat. The police department was there. Our chief was there, along with a couple others. A lot of people, a lot of volunteers there doing that. It was really neat to see. So that was a great thing, and it's pretty cool now that people ask me to do stuff like that because I'm a mayor or something. It's still mind-boggling to me that I'm sitting in this chair. I want to say congratulations to Riley Lerner for being the wrestling state champion. She goes to Cedar Creek. She's a junior. She won the state championships for women's wrestling at 120 pounds. So congratulations. I know women's wrestling is just starting over the last couple of years, but it's still pretty impressive to be a state wrestling champion, and she's from town, and she goes to Cedar Creek, so congratulations to her. This past weekend, MLAA had the Bobby D'Onofrio hockey tournament. I don't even know how many teams were there. So there were so many teams that they had to use hockey rinks out of the township. I know they used Belmar, and I think it was Moorestown. That's how many teams were involved. They had their finals this past weekend. I didn't make it this weekend. I went the weekend before during the tournament. All the work that they requested to get done down there on the hockey courts, Public Works did an outstanding job. We do that work in-house. I think the only thing that went outside was the roof. That was it. But that stuff gets done in-house, that's a huge savings to us. And that's another star for Brett and his team over in Public Works, is getting that stuff done in-house. And it looked great, and there were a lot of people there. It's a big tournament, so hopefully down the road it continues. But next year, if you have a chance, go down there and watch. There's some good hockey going on down there. So honestly, I don't know who. Do you know how we did, Greg? Did any of our teams? Nice. Nice, good job. And of course, I want to give a shout out to our first responders, our volunteer firemen for the fire that they stopped out at Timber Glen. Yeah, nobody injured. Total loss of that condo, but nobody was injured, thank goodness. And just watching them, I took a ride out there, watching everybody out there working together. It was Pomona it's all around the whole area. All of our fire companies were there. Pomona, yeah, you name it, they were there. So, and of course, it helped that it happened over the weekend, because during the week, probably not as many people can show up for that. So good job to all of our first responders. And that's all I have. Reagan, I'll see you soon. Maddie, miss you, love you, hope to see you soon. So I will open it up to the public. Anybody? Up?
Hello, everyone. Alice from Henry from Drosera. Just wanted to go and thank our committee again, because I've missed the previous couple meetings because I was under the weather, for not renewing the MOU for Trophy Park. We greatly appreciate it and want to continue to encourage our committee to continue to work towards the goals of rehabilitating and redeveloping the parcels that actually need it, first and foremost, and maintaining the integrity of our neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi, my name is Susanna Vano. I am not a Hamilton Township resident, but I do live on Township Avenue. It's actually Dogwood, so I'm literally right on the border. I live on the same street. I have the same road frontage. My house is 50 feet from the road. I've lived here in the area 46 years now, my entire life. I have owned that particular house for 7 years. I would like to offer an alternative viewpoint. I know that a lot of people are demonizing the ATV riders lately. It is backed by some environmental groups. But I would like to point out that I see most of the problem being speeding cars and loud diesel trucks. They've already killed one of my pets right in front of me, one of my cats, and I'm a veterinarian, and that was completely devastating. And it was one of the, they take these big diesel trucks and they modify them, and they're super loud and they're super fast. That's probably what knocked over this nice lady's mailbox, because an ATV hitting a mailbox, they're a little vehicle. You know, I mean, hitting a mailbox, that's going to be a big ouch. But these trucks are out of control. The speeders are out of control. And it's because there's 2 townships right on the line. There's really no police that go up and down that street. So people use it as a raceway. I think the ATVs are becoming a scapegoat for this. And so that's my opinion, is we need to get a hold on the speeding and the drunk driving. My kids, I have 3 kids. We pick up the garbage up and down that road, Pine Avenue. We pick up nothing but alcohol containers. We take a big garbage bag, we fill it up, it's all alcohol containers. You got drunk drivers and speeding. Yeah, you're going to lose a mailbox or 2. So, thank you very much.
Anybody else?
I'm sorry, just not to rebuttal that, but the 4x4 trucks that ran over her mailbox.
You state your name, please?
I'm sorry. My name is Dan Toth, with 4367 Township.
Dan Toth.
The 4x4 trucks that run over the mailbox, no, they don't have tires this big. Not to mention the fact that I witnessed it. After midnight, they came, ran this lady's mailbox over. She put it up the next day. Her and her son went to the store, bought a new one, put it up. The next Friday night, the same people came back and ran it over again. That's the 4x4 trucks? No. You want to see the tire tracks from the ATVs and dirt bikes in my grass? Do those look like 4x4 truck tires to you? No. They're not. Bogus.
Understood. We're trying.
Good evening. My name's Julie Akers. I'm from Buena Vista Township. I work with the Great Egg Harbor Watershed Association, and along with Bill and Denise, I'm one of their fellow river counselors. We are actively promoting to all the municipalities in our watershed area to adopt the ordinance that you will be having a hearing on in a couple of weeks. So we're trying to work very hard with the law enforcement to try to be able to actually make a difference with getting some control over these vehicles. And I believe that, you know, there's some issues with the police not being able to actually enforce that. This latest ordinance will give some additional tools to towns to be able to hopefully curtail some of these problems. We're not in here, Buena Vista, Hamilton Township is not necessarily Camden, Atlantic City, Pleasantville, where there's a lot of issues with groups of these vehicles really going amok on public streets, although there are issues with some of these roads, which we are also aware of, but we don't live on that road. I live on a dirt road in my town, and they're up and down our road all the time. It's a public road. That's what this ordinance is going to address, and then hopefully we can get into protecting some of those public lands areas. But I thank you very much for doing that, and we'll be back here to participate in the hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief.
I just wanted to thank the committee for giving me another tool in our tool chest to combat this issue. It was, I just want to share a real quick story with you. So, Brett and I were on the phone, and we were actually talking about this ordinance. And I had just hung up with him, and I had taken off that day, but I had seen 2 motorbikes driving down in traffic, illegally, unlicensed, unregistered, right down Route 50. And I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this. On Title 39, we're not allowed to chase these vehicles because the liability would inherently be on the township. So we are limited on what we can do. But this is another tool. So what happened was, what we can do is just follow them, try to find out where they're at or where they're located, and then we can try to pursue it that way and try to identify them. So they had stopped at the gas station to fill up. So I was able to call a couple cars over and everything. We got the bikes. But what this ordinance does is the very next day, one of the 2 bikes that I got were given back to the owner because I had to. The other bike, they couldn't, say that it was theirs. They didn't have the documentation. So this ordinance allows me to file for forfeiture if we do catch them in an incident situation like that again. So it's a great tool. So I really appreciate you guys supporting me and our police department and the township. So thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Anybody else from the public?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, Council. Jim Link, Park Road. I'm particularly concerned about the cannabis ordinances and all the stuff that, that business has to go through to get established here. But I'm particularly concerned about, and I may be overgeneralizing, but I'm hoping that the planning board and the municipal, the land use boards and committee consider that whoever establishes a cannabis business in this township does so using local product. All right? There's a lot of stuff involved with cannabis throughout the country that points to certain LLCs that are written in the state of California, located in San Diego, who have direct contact with the PRC, okay? And that scares the daylights out of me, especially when you consider any of that material being used by anybody in this township being laced with fentanyl. We know it's a problem. I would challenge anybody to argue that point. But my point is, I would hope that when hearing these applications, like we heard tonight, that these people expressly commit to using, even though you said it's from seed to whatever, whatever, but they commit that they're going to prefer local product and be careful about these connections to China. And I know it's not an easy thing to do. And when this fella, Mr. Siegel, said they want to get involved with the township, certainly we do agree with that as business owners. We think we like to give back to the township, but I would hope that they at least join Rotary, and get involved that way, because the Rotary Club could use help. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jim. Anybody else?
My name's Steve Gardaki, 62 Keller Way, member of the Woods Landing community. First, I'll applaud Mrs. Link for her consideration for us senior citizens. We're looking forward to your continued support. If we step back in time for a moment, Woods Landing community was started by Cara Homes in 2005 with a total of 249 planned homes. Cara ended up completing 143 homes between 2005 and 2006 before going bankrupt, leaving the homeowners at that time sort of horrified, knowing that none of their amenities were completed and empty framed houses were their neighbors. After a long 3 years, a successor was found, Fernmore Homes. Fernmore agreed to purchase the remaining 106 home lots, and he agreed to finish the community. And he would complete it, but he negotiated a lot of concessions, gave up a lot of concessions to have him finish the community. And we're still waiting to get finished. We fast forward now 14 years later, okay, our community is still not finished. The residents are anxious if we'll ever see our roads done and all our amenities completed. The good news is our last phase, phase 5, is going ahead of schedule, I would say. We got 20 houses that are to be built. 17 are supposed to be closed by the end of the month. We have 3 left on Gottsport that all of a sudden sort of coming to a delay in getting those last 3 finished. They're about 85% complete. So right now our expectations were very high that we would meet with that June 21st deadline that you mentioned at committee in January. Now, but right now, I would say recent rumors are circulating that we're gonna have to endure another delay until late summer, early fall. Quite honestly, we've heard that story before. And I don't believe I would put forth that it's not fair to 229 homeowners and phases 1 through 4 to have to wait for the convenience for the builder to do all the road paving all at once. I think he's already had his shot at conveniences. We need our roads paved, and we need our bocce courts done. He's got other things. We do not have the punch list. I would request that the engineer in charge of us deliver to us the most current punch lists that are available on all 5 phases. All 5 phases are open. None of them have been completed on the punch list, to my knowledge. Paving has been done on some of them, but not on phase 1, 2, or 4, and 5. So we'd like to at least get phases 1 through 4 paved, and that's our priority right now. We would like the punch list. We would like a copy of our revised site plan in case we have to step in and do some of the landscaping that was conceded upon when the deal was made with the township. And we would also like a copy of the agreement that the township signed with the builder in 2009. A lot of our folks have come and gone, and we have new people on the board and who are responsible to our community members. So we would like to be able to answer them as to what is going on and give them an appropriate update. So we'd appreciate it if we could have that information. And we would appreciate it if we're getting ahead of ourselves, if a delay is coming down the road, a requested delay, that we propose, let's at least finish 1 through 4. He needs more time to finish phase 5. I think that would be a reasonable compromise, but not to make us wait, 229 people wait to get the roads done. Because right now we're a little anxious about the state of the economy and our builder not following through on getting us finished up. So thank you, whatever support you can give us. We know you've been helping us along the way, and we appreciate your support. But you got to get it. You got to put closure to this community. Thank you.
I believe Bob Smith has been in contact with their HOA, but let's weather's starting to break a little bit here. Give a shout to Bob Smith and see where we're at.
Hi.
Okay.
Joanne Falcone. I'm actually a Woods Landing resident also. I'm the new president of our HOA. I just sent an updated email to Bob Smith today requesting some of the things. Some things we have, some things we don't. We do know that Fernmore was given a revised punch list. We don't have a copy of that, so we did request that. He has been pretty expedient as far as getting back to us. We also requested another meeting with him, so hopefully, I was hoping he'd be here tonight, but he's not here. So, yeah, we appreciate any help you can give us. Some of the things we do have a transition committee we appointed to work on all the things that need to be done, but we are looking for support, so thank you.
Anybody else? Motion to close?
Motion.
Motion a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion to adjourn and go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Will we be coming out?
I would ask that the chair consider a motion to settle the Little Lake Harbor suit for $7,446.
Do I have a motion to settle the Little Lake Harbor suit for $7,400?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second.
Need a roll call.
Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Now, the second one, Rita's going to read you the resolution.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Just so we're clear, the identity of that lawyer and the hourly rate will be divulged at a later date.
Understood. Do I have a motion to close?
Motion.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Adjourned.
That hurt.